After looking at the Fable reveal event, I can't help but feel a little bit skeptical, and to be honest with you, I'm actually really surprised at the amount of praise that this game has gotten recently, especially from very popular YouTubers or streamers, or just people in general. And to be honest with you, from what I saw, it seems fine, but I'm not convinced, and I want to break this down in this video. I want to look at all the aspects of this gameplay preview, whether it's the art style, the RPG systems, the gameplay, the combat, and really talk about my skepticism with this game, because I actually started with the first Fable game. I played all the Fable games, so Fable 1, 2, and 3, and it really seems like in a lot of ways, for the people that know, this game series is cursed. And so with the first Fable game, there was just so much hype around the first Fable, and it disappointed a lot of fans. And then of course the second Fable game also had a ton of hype around it, and that disappointed fans. And honestly, even for Fable 3, I had the most low expectations possible, and somehow that game even managed to disappoint. And so I know that this is a new studio, this is a new group of developers, but it just seems like there is this curse around Fable and the skepticism that I have around this RPG series, but also around AAA games in general. And I think that when you look at these gameplay previews, you kind of have to be a little bit skeptical about them. You have to look past them and just see, what are they not telling me, especially from the kind of AAA gaming space. And so everything that you're seeing is their best foot forward. It's like the best they have. And I think that there's this framing aspect with this where things are framed in a certain way to let your mind wander, to have your imagination go to these possibilities when the reality, it's not the case. So here's like two examples. Like when you hear the word, I'm a entrepreneur, I'm a business owner, what do you think of? You think of someone that owns this big company and has hundreds of employees, but they could be an entrepreneur and have 0 employees. They could have 2 employees, but your mind kind of jumps to what you think of as an entrepreneur. Or when someone says that they're a YouTuber, you think of someone with hundreds of thousands of subscribers, right? But maybe that person has 17 subscribers. So your mind kind of wanders to these kind of preconceived notions about things. And I think you see the same idea with a lot of gameplay previews with video games. And I feel like Fable is probably no different. And so you have to ask questions and look past things. And I feel like when I looked at this gameplay preview event, I'm getting flashbacks of Starfield. I really do. It feels very similar with all the random people talking about the thing that they worked on in the game or some gameplay aspect. And I just really don't trust these, or all these other things we could point to, whether it's Cyberpunk 2077. I just remember the hype cycle around that. I mean, Starfield. There's so many games you could point to. And if you've been playing games for a long time or enough time, the graybeards out there, they know that you can't trust this stuff. You should be skeptical. And so I'm always surprised to see this hype around these games. And so really, I mean, does anyone remember the Fable 2 presentations? I mean, that was another thing where it really disappointed a lot of fans. People had big expectations. And so I'm coming in with that framework of looking at Fable and why I'm really skeptical of this game, to be honest with you. It could be great. It could be awesome. I would love for there to be awesome RPGs out there. But to be honest with you, I'm just a little bit skeptical here. So let's look at this. So what are the core issues with Fable? Like what are my core issues with this game? Why am I skeptical? Well, just something about it feels off to me. It's really hard to put your finger on it, but like when I watch it, there's just something that feels off about it. And after watching it a couple of times, I think I have a better sense of it. But that first gut instinct, I mean, it looked fine. It looked okay, but there's that deeper part of you that goes, something just feels wrong. And in a lot of ways, to me, it feels like this kind of port of Fable 1 and Fable 2 to the modern day. And I'm not talking about like a one-to-one port, but it feels like, okay, let's take the core ideas, the core locations, the core mechanics, the core things from Fable 1 and Fable 2, and maybe to some extent Fable 3, and just bring that to the modern day. And I have to ask the question, what is innovative about this? I mean, it just seems like I've seen all these mechanics before 20 years ago. I've seen all these mechanics in other RPGs, and that's fine. The game doesn't have to be innovative. It can be fun without being innovative, but I still think that there's core issues behind it, and I think that a lot of people, they love to see innovation in the RPG space. They love to see innovation in general, and I know I would, but I just don't really see anything here that's too innovative. And I'm going to kind of go into more detail about that because I think a lot of people would disagree, but let's just look at that. I mean, is this just something really new? I mean, it just feels very safe. It feels like it's checking off a lot of different boxes in the kind of RPG space. Like I said, you can have fun with it, but I just don't know. So let's kind of break it down into kind of a couple of core ideas as we look at this. So the art style. So the first thing is that something just feels off about the art style to me. I mean, it looks nice, there's nice graphics, but it just doesn't feel right. It just feels off to me. And this could be a personal taste, but I feel like when I look at this, the world just doesn't feel real. It feels like I'm looking at this kind of modern day Renaissance fair and not living in this world where there's this grittiness, there's this conflict, this edge. It just feels very safe. It feels very synthetic and very sterile. And it's kind of hard to put your finger on it. You know, there was a level of stylized graphics with the original Fable and I guess the other Fable games, and there's just this kind of modern feel to this that I think is just hard to pull off. The NPCs just look very synthetic and wooden. It just really just doesn't feel good. And in a lot of ways, to me at least, it feels like a very generic fantasy game. It's very safe, no edge, no deeper art style. I mean, like I said, it looks nice, but I'm trying to ask myself, what's unique about this world? What's interesting? What's compelling? I mean, of course, there's all these aspects and these places from the previous games, but I don't know. Just something about it just seems very generic to me. And the thing about all this is that if you don't feel immersed in the world, you're going to have trouble with all the other aspects in the game. So like if the world doesn't feel immersive, the gameplay can feel off. The RPG aspects don't matter as much. You're not as connected to that world and the RPG of your character. And so I feel like that's an important aspect. And like I said, it looks fine, but there's so many things too that contribute to that, whether it's the humor or the story and the writing, which further affects your kind of emotional connection to the world. And the other thing too about the art style is that the UI looks like it has no personality. It just doesn't have this kind of stylized components from like a lot of older games. I love that aspect where there was kind of a more stylized UI. And it's fine if it's readable and it gets the job done, but you see this kind of very boring UI in so many different modern AAA games, and it just to me it feels very boring. It lacks personality. I feel like it can tell you a lot about a video game. Now, of course, it doesn't mean anything really. I mean, it could be fine, but to me it's just another aspect that kind of concerns me a little bit because it just feels a little sterile, a little synthetic. Where's that personality? So then you go beyond the art style. Look at the RPG systems, probably the things that people care about the most. And I think that the fundamental question I would ask is how deep are these systems actually going to be? What is new and innovative here? Now, like I said, there doesn't have to be anything innovative for you to have fun or for it to be a good game, but it's something that I would love to see in RPGs. But at the same time too, once again, even if there's nothing innovative, how deep are these systems actually going to be? Are you kind of being fooled by the framing of this kind of gameplay preview? And so to me, in a lot of ways, like the biggest thing that I have a problem with, and some RPGs have, is this game feels like it might not have a lot of identity. So like if you look at the gameplay, it just seems like it's like you're a master of all, using all the skills, like you're kind of a swordsman and then magic and then archer. And so in some ways, I think the best RPGs are a decision, right? It's a decision to be a certain character. There are trade-offs, there are pluses and minuses. So you're a stealthy character, but you don't have a lot of health, or you focus on magic. And then this opens up opportunities to play the game again, or to make different choices. And so when you're kind of the master of everything and using all the skills, like yes, you have kind of more varied gameplay, but you lose this RPG aspect of things. And when I look at this, I get the sense that that's kind of what's going on. I don't really like that in RPGs. Now, that could be a preference, but to me, it's just another thing about RPG systems, how deep it's going to be and what it is. And so I look at that and I just worry that there's no identity. There's no choices in terms of how you build your character. How deep are the skill trees going to be? Are they very surface level? Is it very much just not interesting? I mean, I'd love to see complicated, deep RPG systems, and I'm not so sure what that really looks like. And then at the same time too, you have this RPG gear. So like they kind of showed off a little bit of the gear or like wardrobes and stuff. And it just kind of reminds me of, I guess, Fable 3 or Fable 2. I can't really remember, but it just, I don't know. It's like these outfits and I wonder how much customization is there really? Like I like the old school kind of MMO RPG style of things where you pick a helmet out, you pick a chest piece, you have like boots, you have a leg piece, all those things. And then just having one outfit just seems to simplify things. And then there's kind of like a meta like piece of armor that you get, or there's only so many. And then I almost feel like I see flashbacks of getting sold a $25 DLC piece of armor that looks really cool. I could be wrong about that. I don't know, but it just like I look at that and I go, oh my gosh, I can totally see a $25 really cool dragon armor that's shown to me. And so I get really worried about that. And you have to ask yourself, how much customization is there? How much do you evolve as a character where you have this progression path of kind of being a lowly hero and then being an awesome hero? And there's this progression where you feel more powerful. I worry about that. And then once again, how deep is that kind of customization with your character in terms of those morality aspects, in terms of what your character is good at or what they're bad at, and this kind of varied RPG role-playing aspect of things, and including like what is in your mind, kind of this kind of headcanon that you have with your character. So then you go beyond that into this kind of morality and decision tree side of things. Now, I think a lot of people got really excited about this, and don't get me wrong, I like this idea. I like the ideas of having ambiguous choices in terms of having many branching paths. But to me, I just looked at this and I go, it just seems like, I don't know, how deep is this actually going to be? I think that there was one decision tree in there where it seemed very binary, like you either do this or you do that. And that's fine, but how many times have we seen this in RPGs? I mean, this has been done numerous times over 20 years. I mean, even beyond that. So what is that really? And the other thing too is that I don't think we really saw like evil options. And I feel like evil and how you handle that is a big component behind RPGs, because I feel like a lot of developers, they play it safe. Like they don't want to go full evil. And it's just almost like this kind of comical evil. It's just this, I don't know, it's not very immersive. And, are you going to have this outward appearance to things? Is it really not truly evil? And I think that that's one of these things that kind of tells you this other aspect with the storytelling or the writing or the true freedom with the RPG aspects. And so I really worry about that. I don't feel like we saw too much of that. And also, all these kind of decision trees and morality are fundamentally driven by the storytelling and the writing. And so if the storytelling and writing are bad, who cares, because you are making decisions or moral decisions or all these things in the context of bad storytelling or bad writing. And so like, who cares if the writing is bad? So like if the writing is not good, you don't really care about the decisions to save a character or to not save a character, or if there are 5 branching paths and the world is boring, who cares? So like that is a big concern of mine. Then you have the NPCs, the NPC routines. I saw a lot of people get really hyped for this. And I love this idea, okay? I love the NPC routines in Skyrim and Oblivion. And I love those ideas. And I wish that they would be expanded further, evolved further from 20 years ago. But once again, you look at this and there's like this framing of how deep the NPC routines are. But if you look closely, I'm just not convinced that there is this kind of depth to these systems. So they mention, okay, there's over 1,000 of them. And so that actually gives you this kind of context about how big the game is, which, given how long this game has been in development, I don't know, something tells me like there should be more, I guess. I mean, maybe that's just being a little too greedy or something, but to be honest with you, like, I don't know, like the game has been in development for so long, like only 1,000. I think that gives you this context of how big the game is going to be. But regardless, you notice that they kind of mention these ideas of saying, oh, they go to their house, they work, they go to a leisure activity, they sleep, and that was it. I mean, is there more depth to that? I mean, I feel like we've kind of actually already seen that with the Elder Scrolls games, to be honest with you. And so, of course, like I'd love to see more variety with these characters, and they have more complex relationships and more depth, and kind of taking these RPG aspects that we've seen from a number of years ago and taking them to the next level. And of course, I like to see that there is kind of a push towards this, but I'm not convinced that there is a lot of depth to this. I mean, even if you look at the NPCs in the gameplay, it just seems a little synthetic. I don't know. I'm skeptical that there's actually this depth there. And you kind of actually, when you look at them, NPCs, like, I don't know. It's just something about it. They just seem a little synthetic and wooden to me. And I also look at the UI options, and if you look closely, it just doesn't seem like there's a ton of options. Like there's like 5 buttons. There's like a reputation, which is like 1 line, and then they have like only a first name. And so like, I don't know, maybe there's more to it. Maybe they add stuff later on. But when I look at that, once again, it's like that framing that I'm talking about. It's like someone saying, I'm a YouTuber, and you think that they have 1 million subscribers, but they have 6. So I look at that and I go, okay, yes, all things being equal, you want more features, you want more depth, but how much detail is there really in that? And that's something to worry about. And once again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier about the morality and the decision trees. If the world sucks, if the writing sucks, and the RPG elements suck, you don't really care about the NPCs. You don't care about these AI characters and these relationships and all these things. And I don't know, I could easily see a situation where you don't care. You don't care. It just feels really off. You don't feel immersed. You want to feel lost in this world where you don't feel like you're playing a video game. You're being immersed and you're just living in this world. And those other aspects don't work. can have problems with this. And so, like, I think people's mind wander. They imagine this crazy NPC routines and then they're living their life and doing all these things. And it very well could be the case, but I just don't know. I'm just super skeptical about that. And then there's these aspects that everyone kind of seems to be really hyped about, like buying houses and these family dynamics and NPCs remembering you and these things. But like so many of these things are kind of standard RPG aspects, like buying a house or all these other things. I mean, I feel like they're kind of the standard affair, what you would expect from a classical RPG. It's like the base minimum of what you would expect in an RPG. And once again, how detailed are those family dynamics going to be? That romance option, that buying a house, all those systems. I mean, how complicated are they going to be really? And especially too, where the game has been in development for so long, if you make the game too complicated and advanced, it's less mass appealable. And so I wonder how detailed those systems are actually going to be in terms of managing those businesses or those relationships. And so once again, just take a step back, get rid of the framing, and ask yourself these questions, right? If they're trying to make this game mass appealable, you can only make these systems so detailed. I mean, this is not like this spreadsheet simulator RPG. And so if that's true, how detailed can those family systems be? How detailed can those business systems be? I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know, but it's just something that makes me skeptical. And so once again, it kind of lowers that hype level down. You want an RPG that's awesome, but I'm just super skeptical about that. If all the systems are there, but the writing is bad, the immersion's not there, you just don't care about those RPG systems. So then you have the combat. Now, the combat looks fine. It looks fine to me, but once again, something just feels off about all of this. And it looks fine, but I don't know. It just feels like there's not a lot of weight. There's not a lot of just impact. And maybe it's just, I want more grittiness. I want more of this just kind of aggressiveness to it. And maybe that's just not this style of game. And so if you try to make a game that's more approachable, or it's not really dark and gritty like The Witcher or something like that, it's harder to do these aspects. But that's what I'm saying with this whole RPG world stuff. Like if you don't have stakes, if you don't have believability in the world, it's just hard to be immersed in an RPG, which is a very important aspect. And like I said, I don't know, there's the combat seems fine and serviceable, but if the AI is really bad and there's no difficulty or challenge to the game, are you going to have fun with this? What if you're just sent on boring quests and then there's this kind of gameplay loop that gets very tiresome? The AI is very boring. There's no complication. There's no depth to it. There's no decisions on how to make your character very powerful in a certain area, but then you're weak in other aspects. So like if you don't have those trade-offs, if you don't have that difficulty and that challenge, and then you're playing all the styles, like it doesn't encourage repeat playthroughs. That doesn't encourage very awesome gameplay. And even if you raise the difficulty and it's just enemies have more health, I mean, that's not very interesting. And so I don't know if that's the case, but like a couple of seconds of gameplay of the combat and stuff just doesn't leave me convinced. I'm very skeptical about this. And when I just look at so many different AAA games that have had trouble with AI, or they've had trouble with combat systems and all those things, it's like, okay, once again, very skeptical about this. And so then you kind of go to the gameplay systems or like the other aspects of the video game. And of course, like, is the storytelling and the writing going to be good? Well, I feel like a lot of modern AAA games have had very poor writing, very poor storytelling. And this is the foundation for the whole RPG, the world building aspect and all those things. Now, I know that there are aspects built from the previous Fable game, like the Heroes Guild, like the Capital and all those things. But once again, I mean, do you play it safe and just kind of retread a lot of the things that you've seen before? Is there complications with the morality? Is there this deeper system of evil? Is there this deeper system of good and hard choices? Do you care about the world? Do you feel immersed into it? And I really, really worry about this. And at the same time, too, there's like this humor with the game. And I think that you have to be careful, because if it's just a little too forced, it just kind of messes the tone up of the game. It kind of reminds me, I guess, of the sarcastic option in Fallout 4, where it just throws you out of the loop a little bit. Or the Outer Worlds 2 or Outer Worlds or something like that. It's just a little too on the nose. And so I think you can have humor in video games, but I actually think it's really tough to pull off. And once again, seems like a very minor thing, but it changes your relationship with the world. It changes your relationship with your character and that immersion, which makes me kind of skeptical, especially with the writing and all those other things. And same with the NPC routines, where they just say, oh, you're this landlord and you evicted them. Oh, I don't like you. Okay, well, there's not a lot of depth there. It's just very singular. It's very one-dimensional. And where's the more deeper NPC connections and aspects? Where's the deeper thought process behind all these things? I mean, I think when you look at a game like The Witcher 3 and you have the Bloody Baron quest line, there's a lot of different ways to kind of think about that. And so there's like interesting kind of ways to think about that whole storyline and how it develops. Is Fable going to have something like that? I don't know. And then you think about the core gameplay loop. Is it just very boring quests, very classic, boring fetch quests, or things like that where you're just really not interested? And so there's all these quests, but they're boring. There's really not a ton of reward. There's not challenge. And so then you're kind of just doing a checklist like you see in so many different games where I'm completing these quests because I feel this compelling need to complete these quests. And then there's not this detailed, complicated story, or the combat system doesn't feed into that. And I really worry about that because that is the core gameplay, is probably going on quests, doing story missions, building your character, exploring. How much depth is there? Same with the open world. I mean, yes, I think we'd all love to see like an open world, from the older Fable games, and you kind of see that. But what is the world populated with? Are there interesting locations? Is it just boring landmarks? Is it just boring places to go to location A to defeat monster B? Is it just go to location B and then defeat this boss or these monsters or collect this item? I think this has been like a broader problem with open world games where you have this big world, but what makes it compelling and interesting? Why do I want to explore it? Can you achieve that Skyrim just wandering feeling, or that Oblivion or that Morrowind feeling of just wandering the world? I think a lot of open world games have really struggled with this, and as time has gone on and this open world aspect has become less novel, it's harder and harder to pull off, and I think you have to do something new, and I'm just not convinced that that's the case. Like, yes, obviously you'd love to see a huge world, tons of NPCs, tons of stuff to do, but it has to be interesting. And if it's just filled with stuff where you see past the immersion and it's just like you're playing a video game, oh, I go over here to defeat these monsters, there's a bunch of monsters here, there's a boss here, I just don't know. I feel like it could be really tough. And so with all this, I feel like many AAA games kind of get a pass, right? Like people's standards, I feel like, are so much lower than they used to be. And I just feel like so many people are desperate for a good AAA game. They're desperate for a good RPG, and it builds this hype cycle, especially around a lot of like popular YouTubers and creators. And I just feel like there's not this critical thought beyond it. There's not this asking questions to arrive at truth aspect to it all. And that's fine. If you think that this is going to be a great game, you want to play this game, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that for a lot of people, there's a lot of nostalgia for past locations or the graphics. I mean, I feel like the graphics really carry things in terms of people being excited for this game. But to be honest with you, I'm not in a rush to get this game day one. I mean, there's a huge backlog that I have of games that I could play, and I think a lot of people do as well. Why not just see a bunch of people play the game and see reviews and see how it goes? Why not get it cheaper? Plus, you kind of have this development cycle that's been lasting for so long that it's like, okay, well, is there not going to be problems with that? I mean, why did this game take so long? I mean, where's the innovation for having taken multiple years to make and all these other aspects? I mean, is no one kind of worried about that? Have we all forgotten about that aspect? I mean, of course, I hope that the game is good. I want awesome RPGs to play. I love RPGs, but I'm very skeptical, and I'm very skeptical of a lot of AAA games. And if you're excited for the game, that's fine. This is just kind of my skepticism for the game. This is me just kind of thinking through it and trying to figure out, why does it feel off to me? Because like when I watched the preview event, it just felt a little off to me. It just didn't feel amazing. Like I didn't see the hype cycle that everyone else had, where it just seems like everyone has been very positive, very hyped for this game. And that was not my reaction. I did not get that reaction. And this is coming from someone that has played all the Fable games. So, and a lot of RPGs as well. So like, feel like I have a context behind this, but let me know what you think. What are your thoughts on Fable? And hey, if you like this video, consider liking and subscribing. I make a lot of awesome video game content on my channel. Check it out, and I will see you in the next video.